Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. You know, today may be Turkey Day, but one thing that's not a turkey is the movie Arrival. It's actually really good, but it's got some complicated subject matter in it, like physics, linguistics, and science in general. Naturally, I found myself really confused at parts, even drooling all over myself. So, after the movie, I called up my old friend Dr. Clifford V. Johnson to come down and learn me about the movie science of Arrival. So, get ready to gobble gobble up some knowledge. It's my esteemed pleasure to have with us our old friend and generous guest, Dr. Clifford V. Johnson, professor of physics at USC.
It's you who are generous for having me on again.
You are here to talk to us about the movie science of Arrival. What did you overall think of the science in the film?
I think they made some interesting choices. As usual with these sorts of things, they took a nugget of very interesting scientific ideas and pushed them somewhat extremely in certain directions, but in a way that I felt was fine for the point of view of we're here to enjoy ourselves.
The ship seems to change gravity, not in only the way it travels, but within the ship. Is this kind of thing possible?
Not that we know of. Gravity is extremely difficult to manipulate because it's very weak, so you need lots of mass. So you'd be using lots of mass to move things around. But you know what's great?
Yeah.
It's completely irrelevant to the rest of the movie, which is why I was happy for it to be in there.
So we had a theoretical physicist who
Didn't know physics.
Didn't know physics, and we had a linguist. So talk to me. What were your thoughts about the way the scientists, you are a scientist, correct?
I believe I am.
How were the scientists portrayed?
First of all, it is so refreshing to have a situation like this be about a linguist. Trying to learn how to communicate is probably our best shot of figuring out difficult situations here on Earth, and of course, if we were ever visited.
Now that's a proper introduction.
It is hugely important to see linguistics up there. The other great film from recent times, The Martian,
Yes.
talked a lot about botany and biology being very important in the space context. I think this is huge progress in filmmaking.
These various disciplines
Yeah, there's other science.
are going to be necessary for further exploration.
Here's the problem, though. They felt as filmmakers that in order to make the point I just made, they needed to push down the other disciplines. And that is a mistake. There's one point where they go, oh, the aliens don't seem to understand algebra, so let's not even try communicating with mathematics. That's ridiculous. You don't build ships like that, right? Without being able to do algebra.
Makes sense.
The one thing we know that's universal in this entire universe that we live in is mathematics, and then next physics. Okay, so it makes sense, as we've seen in other films and in other explorations. It makes sense that one of the first things you would do is try and see whether you can reach common ground using, do you understand prime numbers, things like that. And they just dismiss that out of hand. I would have said they could have kept that there, but gone, okay, fine, we get that prime numbers are great, yeah, but we still want to talk about some important stuff. We still need linguistics, we need to communicate emotion, we need to communicate all those other things, which mathematics is not going to do for us. The other thing that I felt was not so great about the portrayal of the scientists is that the theoretical physicist was shockingly ignorant. In terms of his understanding of how other disciplines work, it was rather poor. Scientists are usually better educated about what other fields of science do.
Jeremy Renner's character was a real dunce.
I feel that was not the character's fault. He was at the behest of the writers there.
Yes, absolutely. Let's move into some more spoiler-heavy questions. So, we're going to talk a little bit in depth about the film right now. Put it on pause, go see the movie, come right back. There you go. The idea of the fourth dimension has been around for a while. How plausible is the idea of experiencing time in a non-linear way as portrayed in the film?
We understand a lot about what it isn't, but we don't know what it is yet.
Gotcha.
So that gives artists, filmmakers, etc., freedom to have some fun. They're taking the nugget of the idea that time is partly an issue of perception and partly an issue of your own states of motion, and they're really just blowing it open and having fun. So there's a nugget of truth which is then expanded for dramatic purposes.
So yeah, we experience time linearly.
In the sense that...
Every moment is a pearl on our string of pearls.
There you go. That's beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
That's great, yeah.
Every moment that we live in our life, from birth, there's a pearl for every moment.
Right. So string of pearls, right? Just there it is.
Yes.
Now take that string of pearls, and several things that happen to strings of pearls that normally we can't deal with very well. For example, you get it all tangled up. You sort of loop it around.
Oh
So
no,
maybe you make
mother's
a little,
pearls.
Exactly. You make a little loop in the middle, right? So you have what we would call a closed time-like curve in
Okay.
physics. The pearl example is great because you could also just put the pearls in the bag, shake it around, still on the string, pull it out, and you get this tangle, right? So this bit gets connected to that bit, and that bit gets
Yeah.
connected to that bit, what have you. It's not linear anymore. It's non-linear. In fact, maybe they're saying that we just simply experience time in this linear way, even though it may not be that way. It may be tangled up. Maybe time isn't even the thing that we think of as time. Maybe it's not anything more than an illusion. And so they have somehow broken out of that illusion, and they're able to teach us how to do that.
At the end of the film, Doctor, Amy Adams solves the crisis by getting information from the future. Is this a paradox, or does it hold up potentially for you?
It isn't that you have the usual linear structure that we're used to, and then you sort of make a little loop and go back, and then everything else is okay. I think what they're saying is the whole linear structure isn't really there. So if you're wedded to the linear structure of time...
We're just going steady.
Right. Or if, you're very closely involved
Committed
with the linear
relationship,
structure, then you're going to, from that perspective, worry about paradoxes.
Yes.
But if it's all tangled up, the string of pearls all tangled up and what have you, then there is no which came first and then what happened, and cause and effect need to be completely re-examined. Those events that we saw, that collection of events spread over time in the various ways, they just are. And they're connected together in the way that they're connected together, and there is no beginning, middle, or end.
Define for our audience again what a paradox is.
It's two people with PhDs, but that's an old joke. Yeah, sorry.
Oh, paradox. We see in the film that Dr. Louise Banks can see the future, but she's powerless to change it. Does that mean there's no free will?
The solution to the paradox is that you just don't have those choices anymore. It's sort of to do with the issues of, if you had knowledge about what is going to happen, it might make you do things now that would change those things that are going to happen, and therefore you wouldn't do the thing that would make the change.
Are we presupposing that Amy Adams, Dr. Louise Banks, couldn't have just been like, oh, I see that I'm going to hook up with Jeremy Renner. Screw that.
I want someone with real superpowers, not Drake arrows.
Yeah. Sorry, Hawkeye. I'm washing my hair that night.
Sorry, cut price born.
I want to talk for a second about the Sapir-Whorf Hypothesis, which puts forth the theory that people think differently depending upon what language they're thinking in. Does it seem possible, as stated by the movie, that if someone thought or dreamt in an alien language, it could rewire their brain to perceive time differently?
It's the business of taking a very interesting nugget of an idea, which is still being discussed in the field of linguistics and beyond, and then pushing it to a narrative extreme for dramatic purposes. So yes, I think everyone would agree, and you've probably yourself had some experience of that when you've, gone visiting a different country, when you're trying to look at the world through the language that you're now speaking or trying to speak, you see it a little differently. So what happens is that you end up perhaps getting somewhat of the world view of the language and the culture it came from and things like that. So this is going well beyond that. This is saying that actually it changes things in you physiologically. And so people discuss that and test that presumably in their own scientific ways. The film is going way beyond that. It's saying that our perceptions of the physical world itself, at the fundamental core of it, so how time and space fit together, are also functions of our language, and as such, if we found the right language, could change that in some really significant way. Now that's really extreme, but it's a fun thing to play with.
Overall, how does this film stack up with other time travel theories you've seen in other movies?
You ask a difficult question because there are two stacks. There's the alien encounter stack, and there's the let's play with time stack.
Yeah.
The time travel aspect of this is not delineated enough that you could call it silly or not silly. It's provocative in the ideas it plays with. So I can't rank it in that sense. So I'd rather put it in the alien encounter pile.
Where does it rank on the scheme of alien encounter films?
Pretty highly. I would say, I guess amongst the favorites people mention of the serious ones, as it were, Close Encounters, Alien, Contact, in terms of recent ones. I would say it's in the top 3 of the contemporary ones I've seen in a long time.
Wow, that's impressive. And you know what else is impressive? You, sir, Dr. Clifford V. Johnson, thanks again for coming in and putting up with my nonsense.
See you next time, perhaps.
Indeed. All that movie science was delicious. I'm thankful to Dr. Clifford V. Johnson for coming down here and sharing his knowledge with us. Hey, what are you thankful for? Let us know in the comment section below. Also, I'm doubly thankful to you for watching Screen Junkies. Have a great Thanksgiving, everybody. Hit me up on Twitter. Bye-bye. Hey guys, did you know that this end card works with your phone now? I know, right? Click the boxes below to watch more Screen Junkies videos, and click the Screen Junkies logo to subscribe and get this show, honest trailers, movie fights, and more.